everybody's going to have to build their AI facilities next to nuclear power plants for the big, cheap base load. That's coming. All eyes are on nuclear now. So demand is just going to keep going up and up.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Myriad Uranium's a channel as we are exploring this company's recent prospects as they're expanding their projects, obviously moving to some pivotal points of what soon I imagine will be either production or scaling some of the actual resource estimates here. But joining to discuss as always, Thomas, the CEO. Welcome back, sir.
Thanks. Good to see you, Kyle.
It was a pleasure to get you back on. So first and foremost, I guess we should just kind of get a high-level overview of the projects you have and then talk about these acquisitions that you've recently made, basically at your historic Copper Mountain project.
Great. So Wyoming is the center of the uranium universe right now, in that it's in the United States. So yes, Athabasca, Saskatchewan has high grades. Kazakhstan produces the most of anybody, but because the United States is repatriating all of the uranium production and then the production of fuel rods and all sort of thing to fuel reactors, everything is focused on Wyoming right now as the main center in the United States for uranium production. We have a fantastic project in the center of Wyoming. It's called the Copper Mountain Uranium Project. I wish it was called the Uranium Mountain Uranium Project, but it's called Copper Mountain. Don't be misled. It is a really big uranium project that was explored by Union Pacific Railway in the 1970s. They spent the equivalent of 117 million Canadian drilling 2,000 holes and estimating a big, what we have to call historic uranium resource, 15 to 30 million pounds, and then upwards of 63.8 million pounds is their target if you just sort of keep exploring. They had some confidence in that. So that's what we have. Myriad has a potentially one of the largest or the largest uranium project in Wyoming. And we are sitting on this. And so we're very excited for the markets to appreciate this. Uranium is back on its way up as of today, and exciting times. So that's the Copper Mountain Uranium Project. Myriad has a tight share structure, 34.2 million shares, big insider ownership, 46% insider ownership. So that's a sketch of what's going on. Now, we have this amazing historic project, which we are advancing, and we're not sitting on our hands waiting for the summer to get drilling and do work. We are expanding, and we're doing a lot of strategic acquisitions. And we're doing this because we have a proprietary private data set that we've acquired, historic data, and it has enabled us to identify very exciting prospects in the district and really adjoining areas. So I can tell you about them. In the last few months, we've made some very cool acquisitions. Number one, Knob. It's called Knob. The Union Pacific guys in the 1970s identified 500,000 pounds of uranium at 0.15%. That's a very nice high grade for Wyoming. And they indicated that there's really big upside potential there. So these are historic numbers and estimates. We'll be bringing all this current with some work. So number one acquisition, Knob. Number two acquisition, Midnight, also next to our license area. Union Pacific, with a bit of work and some great understanding of the geology locally, estimated up to 10 million pounds of uranium. So you do the math on what is 10 million pounds at $100 uranium, that's $1 billion worth of uranium. That is right next to our license area. Of course, 43101, et cetera, you're not supposed to talk in terms of gross value of the uranium in the ground. Disclaimer I have to make. However, you can do the math yourselves. Third acquisition, Bonanza or Bonanza Day. These are two uranium mines that produced in the 50s and 60s to the early 70s. Right up against our property area, now part of our property, thought to produce, according to the records, 780,000 pounds of uranium. This is Bonanza, at least, at 1.3% uranium. That's a gangbusters grade of uranium in Wyoming. That is a big production, big grade, and that is now part of our license area, and we are optimistic that there's a lot more uranium around it. Finally, we just announced the could call it an acquisition, but really it's the settlement of a mining lease with the Diamond X Ranch. The Diamond X Ranch sits sort of in the central part of our license area. And that is an important part of our main deposit, the Canning deposit, 8 to 19 million pounds of uranium. And so we'll end up paying the ranchers there a royalty depending on what part of their ranch land we produce from 1 to 3% of the price of the uranium, the value of the uranium that we produce. Those are 4 acquisitions to add to our already exciting package there. So exciting times for us. We just announced all these. We're going to see this all reflected in the markets in due course, I'm sure.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the insight. And as you mentioned, I also find it interesting that these big tech companies like Meta have been kind of abbreviating to powerhouse these massive supercomputers for these AI models. They were actually looking at using nuclear reactors because they're the
Great
most,
point.
yeah, they're the most efficient manner, which again, bringing it back to the US, right? So do you want to talk about kind of the timeline aspect, milestone expectations? You've been doing a lot of acquiring here. I mean, what are you guys kind of focused on in the coming quarters into summer?
Absolutely. I'll get right into that. I just want to mention I was in Florida a couple of weeks ago meeting with a lot of AI folks from Silicon Valley, and they were all talking about nuclear because everybody's going to have to build their AI facilities next to nuclear power plants for the big, cheap base load. That's coming. All eyes are on nuclear now. So demand is just going to keep going up and up. So to your point, AI and nuclear are now linked. That's all coming. So what's our plan? We just announced a month ago historic drilling that we analyzed. This has never before made public. Big long historic intercepts in our central area, up to 291 feet. Use feet instead of meters in this data. That's a really nice long intercept, up to 3,850 ppm. That's a very nice grade for Wyoming. So we have high grade long intercepts. That is all possible within our license area. So what are we going to do? We're going to replicate these long intercepts and high grades. We know now, we think, how to find them. So we're going to go after the higher grade and the long intercepts to bring up our average grade and the volumes of uranium. So that's one thing we're going to do. Priority 1, however, is to bring all these historic numbers. Everything I'm talking about is historic, and under 43-101, we have to get current information so that we can get current sign-off from experts. So we're going to confirm the historic information. So we're going to do basically those 2 things over the coming months into the summer and early fall. We're going to confirm the historic information so we can make it current. That is an order of magnitude change in our value at that point. That is very exciting and value add. And then we think we understand fairly well where the high grade is, how to find it, and how to get these long intercepts. So we're going after that too. So, keep an eye on us. It's exciting times for Myriad. The share price is going to start to reflect all this in due course, and going to be good times for investors and for us as management.
On that note, I'll pass it off to the viewers. As always, we'd love to know what you think and consider subscribing, because when catalysts and news like this hit the wire, of course, we'll bring it to you here. But on that note, as always, we look forward to catching you in the next one.
Been a pleasure.